Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Oh bitch, I know it's been a minute. Like, you're telling me, like, I know it's been a fucking minute. Okay, but currently we're in my office in New York City. I picked up my entire life and I moved across the country. I said, Tiny, get the fuck in. We're going, we're leaving. And I was like, I need to like give you guys an in-depth story time. Not even in-depth. I mean, yeah, I'm just gonna give you guys like a complete story time and just like be very honest and vulnerable and transparent as to why I moved. Because if you're surprised, bitch, I'm 20 times more fucking surprised. Never in my life did I think I was gonna move back to New York. Like, I was so done with New York by the time I was ready to leave. It was literally like last year this time. I was like, no, like I am not. There's no world that I am like ever coming back to New York City. And here the fuck I am in my new apartment in New York City, and I left California. So I was like, let's just get into the tea of like why I moved and like what the actual fuck has been happening. Okay. I'm gonna start the story time off by telling you I'm a control freak, okay? I'm a control freak. My entire life I've always planned out. I was like, okay, I'm gonna live in Chicago, then I'm gonna move to New York. I'll probably stay in New York for like 5+ years, but I just like had my life planned to a T. And I know that's not like healthy or whatever, and it's everyone's like, oh, God makes plans. I mean, like, you make plans, God laughs. And I was like, yeah, no, God can laugh his way to the fucking bank, because like I am gonna do what I want to do, and like this is how I see my life, this is how it's gonna go. And I will say this is the first taste I've had of like God apparently does make plans that aren't the ones that I made. So, and mind you, if you hear anyone in the background, it is my maintenance man, so he's getting a live story time of this story, so just keep that in mind. But I moved to California in January last year, and I was like, this is where I'm gonna spend the rest of my life. Like, I completely was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna do New York and then I'm gonna go to California. Like, every man I dated in New York, I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm eventually gonna move to California. And I like got their vibe about it, and if they were like, oh, I would never live there, I was like, okay, I don't even like see you, that's my husband, like I don't see you long term, bitch. Like, I don't know. I always just was like, that's where I'm gonna spend the rest of my life, that's what I'm gonna do. And like, that's genuinely what I thought. So I wasn't planning to move to California as soon as I was, but like the cards just aligned that it was like, okay, it's time for me to go. My entire team at the time was out there, and I was just kind of over New York. I was like, yeah, I don't fuck with the city that much anymore. I don't know, I think I was just going through something. Now that I look back on it, I'm like, I could have just went to Mexico and went on vacation, and I think I would have been fine. But like, sometimes I do just need a break away from the city. But like, I was set on moving, and I do not regret moving whatsoever, because if there's one thing about me, if I have my heart and my mind set on something, I have to do it. Like, I have to do it. I have to get it out of my system for myself. If it's not meant for me, I'll find out the hard way, like I did with California. So let's just dive deep into California. When I first moved there, and I mean, like, I think I loved it to death up until like the last month I was there, until I like realized I wanted to get out. I loved California. I absolutely loved it there. The sunshine, everything was exactly what I like. I loved it so fucking much. I was like, oh, I'm gonna buy my first home here. Like, I know it. Like, I'm gonna do all these things. And like, I fully moved out there. Like, I moved my entire life. I furnished that apartment. That was my first, like, I'd say that was like my second big girl apartment, but that was like, I made that place a home. Like, I loved it so much. I thought it was like the best thing in the world, and I still do. So you're like, okay, but you loved it. I loved my personal life out there. I loved the sunshine. Like, I lived on the beach. How could you not fucking love all of it? But like, the best way I can describe it was, even the second I hopped off the plane, like, I just realized my energy work-wise, and this is all going to be work-wise, was not the same as it was in New York City. Okay, so let me like dive deep into that, because like, I'm about to get very woo-woo and like spiritual and everything like that, and just kind of like tell you guys everything I was thinking. But I remember I was sitting in my bathtub, and it was my first week in California, and Sissy and I were like FaceTiming. That sounds weird, but like, we were FaceTiming, and I remember she was like, yeah, we were just talking. She's like, well, if a city rejects you, like, it's meant to reject you, and like, you'll know when it rejects you. And I was like, yeah, like, whatever. And like, that was just like a little conversation, but it was stuck in my head. And at that exact time, I checked my credit card statement, and my credit card statement was exactly what I had in my savings account. exactly what I had in my savings account. And if I'm being like brutally honest and transparent, I had no money coming in besides like the TikTok creator fund, because I hadn't done any brand deals in like 6 months. That is a topic for a whole different time, and like I'll have to do a podcast episode on that when I relaunch the podcast, which we'll get into in a second as well. But I just remember being like, and oh, I hear a dog barking. And I just remember being like, that I don't fuck with. Like, that is one thing I don't fuck with. Like, I've had credit card bills equally as high, but like it wasn't the exact same amount that was in my savings. So it just like taking a look at my savings and being like, wait a fucking minute. And then I have a very expensive rent coming up as well. I was like, hold on a second. And like, so that was just like in my head, because like the same exact time Sissy was saying that was the same exact time I was checking my bank account, and I was like, wait a fucking minute, like back this shit up a little bit. And money has been something that's been really interesting for me my entire life, because I grew up with money, and then my parents lost it all, lost absolutely everything to a T. And like, I think when you come from a family like that, you're like, oh, I'll never let that happen to me. And I would never say I lost all my money, because that's not what happened, but I did spend majority of it. And it just like yeah, like I definitely went through some financial struggles this year, which we'll talk about. I'm fine, like it's nothing that's like crazy. It's just something that I didn't expect. I mean, it was my first year as an influencer, and I think you don't realize when it's your first year as an influencer, like, bitch, you gotta keep the, like, you can't, I don't know, it's so hard, because it's just like, okay, I do a brand deal, 3 months later I get paid from the brand deal. For 6 months it feels like I'm good, whatever, da da da. But if you're not consistently doing the brand deals, like the money doesn't come in, bitch. And you're like, obviously, but like, I don't know, it's just like a different world. I was in I don't know what the fuck I was on. But that was just like one thing I specifically remember. Now, I fully dove deep in California. I bought a car. I bought Tessie. The real ones remember when I bought Tessie. I didn't make that big of a deal out of it, because like I was weirdly getting hate about getting a Tesla. I mean, like now I get it, but like at the time everyone was just like, fuck your stupid car. And I was like, hey, like that was like the first car I ever bought myself. So I was like, the fuck is everyone so like negative about this for? But I then went on and I loved my life there. And I was like, oh, this is the best thing ever. Like, I will never step foot in New York City ever again. Goodbye, goodbye, absolutely fucking not. And now I'm a big person where it's like, not a big person, but I'm a big believer where like your energy is going to, like my energy is going to reflect everything in my life. So if that is like and I am a very like, numbers mean a lot to me, so like views and everything like that, which like I know isn't healthy, whatever, but like I don't know, I just like saw a very big decrease in my views when I moved to California. And I don't think it had anything to do with my content. I genuinely, like, the spiritual side of me was like, no, it has to do with like my energy isn't aligning there. So if my energy is not aligning in California, why would these things be like amazing and like everything's just aligning perfectly? Like when I go back to the time in my life of where literally a year ago, where like my TikTok was consistently blowing up and things were consistently happening, and I just look at what was happening and the people I had around me, and like those are things I really take account of, because I'm such a big believer that your circle is going to equal your success 1000%, and your environment is also going to equal your success. So when I moved to California and my views shifted to a point where I haven't seen anything like that in my fucking life, and don't get me wrong, the views were still like good, like, but not for my liking, like at all. I was like, that's so weird. And this was also within like the first week that I moved there. I noticed that I was like, my view, like it felt like I hopped off the plane and like my energy just like wasn't aligning, and I was like, what the actual fuck? So those are just like little things that like I am very in tune with, like my energy and like the people around me and the environment that I live in, because I just know that that breeds success. Like all of that is going to breed the success that I'm going to achieve. And I'm like, whatever, I'm just like overthinking it. And then it came to a point where like I couldn't ignore the gut feelings, if you know what I mean, in the sense where I kept getting, this is so random too, and I'm like, please don't listen to your TikTok tarot card readers, like please don't. But I have this one very specific YouTube tarot card reader who I love, and she was just like deep diving on my stuff, and she kept telling me I was gonna move, and I was like, that's so weird of her to say, because like I just moved, so why? And that I thought I was like, oh no, I'm just gonna move into a home in California. Never in my life was I like, oh my god, no, like I'm going to move back to New York. Actually fucking no. And so I was like, oh, I'm just gonna move into a home in California, like that's perfect, whatever. But I kept getting like tarot card readings on my page about like me moving. And like even on my TikTok and my YouTube tarot card reader, I just like kept getting those, and I was like, what the actual fuck is this about? And I just like kind of like ignored it. But it came to a point where I was like, why do I feel this? And even when I moved into my apartment in California, I was like, I'm not gonna spend the entire lease here. Like I just feel that like I'm not gonna spend the entire lease in this apartment. I thought I'm just gonna move to a home in California. I'm gonna need more space. Like that's kind of like, because that's what I always wanted. I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy a home. Like that's just like the plan. And you were like, didn't you say you had financial struggles? Anyways, I was gonna rent a home until I got my money up and I was gonna buy a bitch. Anyways, and so like that kept happening. And then I would say around August, so from January to August, I was just like living my little California dream. I mean, a lot did happen in that time. I look back on that California chapter and I think a lot of healing that I needed to do happened there. I always say like Chicago and California are big places for me for healing, where New York is very much a place for me to like work and like get shit done and like accomplish those goals and dreams. That's how my energy aligns there, and like that's just what I personally believe. So if this isn't focused, like I don't know what the fuck to tell you. But I specifically just remember in August, my mom came to visit, and it was actually right before we filmed Netflix together, and we were sitting and we were talking, and I was like, just kind of like expressing how I felt, where I was like, I don't know, I just feel like my energy in New York might be a little bit better than it is here. And like I was having trouble like coming to the conclusion of that, but I would say during that time when my mom visited and we did Netflix is when I kind of decided, okay, I need to go back to New York. Like I think that's gonna be my next step. And one thing about me is once I have something in my head, oh bitch, it's full throttle. I'm full throttle with that bitch. So I then went to New York Fashion Week here in New York. I came to New York and I visited Sissy and we did Fashion Week. Actually, I didn't really do fucking Fashion Week. To be honest with you, I really did not do Fashion Week. I didn't go to a single Fashion Week event, but I was in town for Fashion Week. That's a whole different story that we could get into. But I ended that trip with the conclusion, number one, I'm moving back to New York as soon as possible. So that was like in the beginning of September. And I said November 1, I'm moving to New York. Like I'm moving to New York, okay? And I was like, that's that. And number two, I was getting rid of the team I had at the time. They just like were not what I was aligned with anymore. And I was like, I just need something different for myself. And I just knew I needed to move back to New York. I was like, even visiting here, like it didn't feel like I was visiting. It just felt like I was coming home. Like, and I told Sissy, I was like, if I didn't have Tiny, oh, 1000% I would have just stayed with Sissy. Like I just honestly would have never left. We would have killed each other. But like, I just knew, I was like, I have to be back here. I don't know why. All I can blame it on is the fact that my energy is just better here, and I'm like my most me when I'm here. Like I'm my most Livy self. Like I don't know, I just didn't feel 1000% like myself in California, and I just genuinely think my energy doesn't align with it as much as I love that city and I loved everything about it. I just felt like my energy wasn't aligning there, and my entire work and everything I do is revolved around my energy and like how good I'm feeling. Like I just kind of felt like I retired when I moved to California. Like I just felt like I wasn't working as hard as I normally do. Like here, even just being back here, like the 3 weeks I've been back here, I'm on my fucking Zoom. I'm like, let's go, let's get our shit done. And like one thing about me is like I'm very strict with my posting and my consistency. Like, and you guys, I mean specifically my YouTube girlies, I'm so sorry I neglected you so horribly, but like that was a big thing for me, is that Monday weekly YouTube videos, like that has to be done. Like the podcast was every Friday, like that has to be done. And like it came to a point where like I wasn't uploading YouTube videos, and like that is so unlike me to not be as consistent as I've always been. Like that's so fucking weird for me. And like that was something I know, and it was just like I just can't even describe it. It just felt like there was a blockage in my way. Like as hard as I tried to like get that work ethic back and like be that boss ass bitch, like it was hard to connect to her, and I just felt like I wasn't even living life. I was just like existing, and I was existing as a version of myself that I did not love. I was like, I just felt like I retired, and I was like, I don't have the funds or the mental space to fucking retire right now. Like I need to get on my Zoom. And I just remember talking to my therapist about this, and she was, and I just, because you're probably watching this, like you could have done that in California. I could have, but I know myself well enough to know, okay, California is not aligning with my energy. I feel it. My intuition's telling me that. Everything is pointing to like, get the fuck out of here, bitch. I could stay and I could make this work because I'm stubborn and I've done that before, but I'd rather, you know what, swallow my fucking pride, swallow my ego and be like, okay, it's time for me to go, because ultimately what I want in this life and like the goals and the dreams I have set for myself requires a lot of fucking hard work, and it requires me to be in tune with my energy and be in tune with myself. So like, let's fucking go. And that was what I did. I was like, let's go. I've always just been big on that. Like, once I have something in my head, it's always going to happen. Like, because I'm fucking crazy. Like, I'm gonna make it happen. I'm also like on my second cup of coffee today. If you're like, God damn, this bitch never stops talking. But there was also, I talked about this in my TikTok, little things that came up in California where I was like, that's not normal. Like, I got slapped with like just unexpected charges. Like, I remember like getting like this $4,000 charge, and I was like, girl, like that felt rough. And just like little things that I almost felt like I was struggling financially, not even in the sense of like, I just felt like work wasn't working. Like, that was just like that. And like, obviously, like I got my finances in order and I like posed with the vibrator on Instagram, you know what I mean? Like, I got my shit together, obviously, but it just like, I never felt so disconnected from myself. And I don't know, it was a very hard pill for me to swallow too, because I was like, this is what I had planned for my entire life. Like, I had planned that it was gonna be, California was my end all be all. And so for that to go up in the fucking air, I just like kind of felt like I lost, not lost, but it just threw me for like I was confused. Because like, I've always been the type of bitch, oh, I know my 5-year plan. Oh, I know this. But now it was like really God being like, do you, bitch? Because like, I'm about to fuck your shit up real quick. And that was that. So in mid-September, I was like, yeah, no, I'm moving. And I had to break a lease in California, which like by the way, breaking a lease in California actually get fucked. If I didn't find someone to rent my apartment by November 1st and I was like gone, if I wanted to like get out of my lease, technically I had to pay $32,000. That's just, I'm just gonna give you the number. It was $32,000 I had to pay to get the fuck out. See, like, I was desperate to leave, but I wasn't that, what the fuck do I look like just handing $32,000 away? Just like, oh my God, yeah, no, like, take it. I was like, no, somebody's gonna rent this apartment. Newsflash, nobody was renting the apartment. Nobody was renting the apartment. At the same time, I'm finding an apartment in New York. And like, mind you, I don't even think I took it. Like, I was having Sissy view a bunch of places, and I was applying to places that I really liked and everything like that. But in I knew, I was like, no, I'm moving by like November 1. Like, November 1, I'm gonna be in my new apartment. And like, the thing is, I had my movers booked for the 30th. Love you, Roadway. And everyone was like, this is insane. Like, you do realize this is insane because you could potentially be paying 2 rents. Like, I could be paying 2 rents. And I was like, no, I know this is fucking crazy. Like, this is the most unhinged thing I think I've done in a minute. But I was like, I just have to follow my intuition and just like trust the fucking universe that everything's gonna fall into place. And like, that was so hard for me because like, we're coming up on, I will never forget this. Actually, I was with Maddie, one of my really good friends, Maddie. And like, I think it had to be like October 27th, and my movers were coming in 3 days. And like, my LA apartment wasn't rented. And so like, I was low-key fucked. And like, I had an appointment to sell the car. Like, everything was in line. Like, I had the New York apartment. I can't talk about what happened with that apartment legally. Anyways, that whole thing. And I remember Maddie came over and I was like, Maddie, I'm fucking stressed. Like, I might have to be paying like 2 rents. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do. And I remember being like, Maddie, just like call my apartment building. Like, I don't know, I hadn't done that yet. And like, mind you, I was so annoying to them. I was like, I'll do anything to get out of the lease. They were like, no, you're fucked. Like, either you pay $32,000 or your apartment gets rented. Like, there is no in between, bitch. And, or you're just reliable for this like rent. And I was like, oh my God, fuck me. And so I was like, Maddie, just like call and just say you're interested and like, let's see, like, because they said they were running a rent special on it. And I was like, let's see if they're actually running this rent special on it. Maddie calls and she was like, are you running any rent specials on your apartment? And they were like, no, sorry, we're not. I'm like, these fucking liars. Like, these liars would do that. Say they're running a fucking rent special on my apartment and they're not. They just want to keep me liable, whatever, right? You guys know. They go, Maddie goes, oh, I saw it. They were like, no, actually the apartment we were running a rent special on just got rented out like 20 minutes ago. And Maddie was like, what was the number of that apartment? And they were like, 326. my apartment. My apartment had got rented out 20 minutes before I made Maddie call. I had no fucking idea. I had literally no idea. And I was like, no, gagged. You guys, when I tell you gagged, I was like, Maddie and I screamed on the top of my lungs. Like, we were screaming. She was like, you're moving. And I was like, Maddie, I'm moving. And I like actually get so emotional thinking about that moment because I was like, holy fucking shit. That was like the craziest thing. Because it was like, I was like, just call them. I had never done that before. And they were like, no, that got rented out. You guys, I was so gagged, you have no idea. And Maddie literally probably one of like top 10 guys. And I was like, wow, I'm moving to New York. And I moved. And it was just holy fucking hell. I don't know. If there's one thing about me, bitch, I've said it a million times in this video, like whatever I have my mindset on, I'm gonna make it happen. But also, just like, I don't know, being in tune with myself is something I've been really grateful for, where I'm like, I know where I'm gonna be the best version of myself. And like, for me, my goals and my dreams and like everything that I have planned are my number one. Like, my work will always be number one to me. And I know that's like toxic or whatever, but like, I've worked my ass off to be where I am, and I'm not even where I wanna be yet. Like, I'm not. So this is just like, yeah, it's just been a lot. I'm like fully moved in now, but I'm just like taking it day by day because I'm still like adjusting and like getting my shit together mentally, physically, all of it. But I'm back. Bitch, if there's one thing about me, I'm not gonna stay in a place where I'm not the best fucking version of myself. I'm willing to move mountains to be the best version of my motherfucking self. And so it's been a journey. Like, it's literally been such a journey. And like, love California. I just don't think me and California's energy are like this anymore. And now I'm like, oh, I'm not making any plans about where I'm moving or what I'm doing. All I know is I love my fucking apartment as where we are now, and that's just that. But I feel like I'm back. Like, it's like the weirdest feeling where I'm just like, I don't know, it doesn't even feel like I was gone. Like, I know my friends and I are gonna look back and just, even like you guys are gonna look back and like, remember when you moved to literally the beach, bought a Tesla, and like moved back within 10 months? Because like, that is what I did do. But yeah, it's just been like so fucking eye-opening, this entire experience. And I'm so grateful for my time in California. I feel like I had a lot of realizations there about the people in my life, who I'm surrounding myself with, and just like lessons that I've really fucking learned. And I'm excited to bring the podcast back. I'm launching a new podcast. It's coming soon, literally really fucking soon. I just met with my new managers about it, and I'm really excited to bring it back because I miss sitting and yapping. I'm also bringing back the weekly fucking YouTube videos. We're back. You thought I was gone. Get fucked, bitch. Get fucked. No, I'm so back. And like, I'm just ready to be back on my Zoom, be back on my shit, and thank you guys. All I can do is like thank you guys, because I don't know, I'm just grateful to have a community that I genuinely fucking love. And I love every single one of you. But that's why I moved from California to New York, because I said, energy's not aligning. I need to be the best version of myself at all fucking times. See you in New York. See you in New York, bitch. And I know it sounds woo 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 and like crazy and all those things, and I don't give a single fuck. Because like, I know what works for me, and this works for me. Not my maintenance man hearing every little thing I said. He's probably like, bitch, you do talk a lot. Like, debating if I want to give you guys an apartment tour, because that's always scared me. But I love you guys, and I'm just so grateful that I get to bring you on this crazy journey called life with me. And like, yeah, I wasn't even as open and vulnerable as I could have been, and I think that is, I'm saving that for the podcast, because there's things that happen in California that I know you all want to know about, but like, just, I'm not gonna talk about that, but like, just things that I really want to like do full podcast episodes on. So I love you guys. Have a great day, night, evening, whenever the fuck you're watching this. Make sure to subscribe. I want to run up those YouTube subscribers, but I love you, and just like thank you for supporting me, and I appreciate it. And I'm back to weekly fucking videos. And if I don't post, call me a stupid bitch in my DMs. Okay, don't though, because I am sensitive, but love you.